This chart maps out a strange contradiction in modern life. The steady, rising line represents our physical and material comfort, but the sharper, accelerating line tracking alongside it measures rising rates of loneliness, despair, and purposelessness. Decades ago, psychiatrist Viktor Frankl observed a specific version of this phenomenon. He called it the Sunday neurosis, the dull, sinking despair that arrives the moment our busyness stops, leaving us alone with our own thoughts. Frankl identified this as the existential vacuum. It is a sense of inner hollowing, a feeling that life lacks a specific direction, and that underneath all our daily activity, nothing really matters. A society engineered to maximize convenience and minimize friction can still produce deep misery. Comfort alone is missing the variable required to navigate difficulty. In 1940s Vienna, Viktor Frankl was a successful psychiatrist working in the shadow of intellectual giants, but he began questioning their foundational assumptions about what drives us. Sigmund Freud argued that the primary driver of all human behavior was the pursuit of pleasure. Alfred Adler countered that humans are primarily driven by the pursuit of power. Frankl hypothesized that meaning was our primary drive. He was about to test that idea outside of a clinical setting, in an environment where pleasure and power were completely eradicated. The test of human endurance happens when society collapses and every external freedom is stripped away. Frankl was arrested and sent to Auschwitz. Upon arrival, he lost his family, his life's work, and his physical autonomy. Facing unimaginable horrors, Frankl made an active choice. He shifted his perspective, observing the reality of the camp through the detached, analytical lens of a psychiatrist. He noticed an anomaly. The prisoners who survived the longest were rarely the youngest or the healthiest. Pure physical advantages offered almost no protection against rapid deterioration. The actual common denominator among survivors was having a specific why to live for, a loved one waiting for them, or an unfinished task that only they could complete. Human beings do not simply die from severe physical conditions. They deteriorate when they perceive their suffering as entirely meaningless. Frankl built a new psychological theory from this observation, known as logotherapy. He borrowed a single line from philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche to summarize it. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Frankl called this the last human freedom. He pointed to a mental space between an event, the stimulus, and our reaction, the response. Inside that gap is our irreducible freedom. We retain the ability to choose our attitude toward unavoidable suffering. We build meaning through the posture we take when facing adversity. When Frankl returned to a destroyed Vienna, he emerged with a crystallized, urgent sense of purpose. Modern psychological science now studies the exact phenomenon Frankl lived through. It is called post-traumatic growth. Trauma research consistently shows that individuals can survive devastating loss and emerge from the experience with a clearer sense of direction, provided they integrate their pain into a larger narrative. Trauma and suffering do not dictate our final identity unless we allow them to be the final word. Most of us will never face a concentration camp, but we are guaranteed to face the unavoidable suffering of aging, loss, and the quiet weight of the modern existential vacuum. Frankl's diagnostic for navigating this is highly practical. What specific purpose gets you out of bed in the morning, out of genuine devotion, rather than mere obligation? If you knew you had exactly 1 year left to live, what would you want your presence to have meant to the people around you? The antidote to modern despair is not found in physical comfort. Meaning is built in the quiet space between what happens to us and how we choose to respond. And that choice is our ultimate human freedom.